So today, we're talking about trust in teams. And majority of us understand that trust is something that we can play around with. It is one of the major foundations of effective teams. In fact, without trust, the team is non-existent. So trust basically have two dimensions. We have the cognitive trust and the emotional trust. And when scholars talk about trust without mentioning about the emotional trust, it means they're talking about cognitive trust. Cognitive trust implies that we rely on someone, say a team leader or a manager or a director. We rely on someone based on their skills, based on their competency. We rely on she or him, or we rely on her or him to be able to execute some functions, some duties. And so that is the common theme. In fact, we delegate, we engage people in our professional undertakings to do certain things. And so that very idea, or that very investment that we make in giving that vulnerability that we expose ourselves to by getting someone, by asking someone to do something, knowing that, that very situation is safe, then that basically is a cognitive trust. And so we trust people in our workplaces. We trust people if you're the boss. We trust people and assign some duties to them, some services to them, or some special services to them. So that basically implies that we have faith in that person. They're going to be able to, but the faith, basically, there is some vulnerability because you're not sure the person can disappoint you. So for you to trust someone, basically you take a gradual step. You don't entrust so heavy, sensitive information or duty to someone without really testing them to know their abilities and capabilities. And so for us, we are bound to trust someone. It's a vulnerability that, we can't do without it. But then we have to go on a gradual step so that we don't feel disappointed if we don't have the job done. Then we know this person, I can't trust this person so much. And then with time, the way we relate with professionals, relate with the team members, we get to know each other, and then we know the abilities and capabilities. We know the competencies. And it makes it easy for us to be able to entrust them with some type of duties, sensitive duties, that we feel should be for a particular person to be able to execute based on their expertise. And so, the very idea that organizations exist and excel effectively and efficiently is because, the trust factor is there. And for one reason or the other, the trust some undermined. There are challenges to building organizations effectively and creating effective teams in generating high performance. We know that trust is it's a factor that we can't do away with. We can compromise. But we find that it is so difficult to attain trust. And one of the challenges of achieving trust in teams is like what I mentioned in 2012, a conference at Harvard University, that people, members of the team, some people that they don't align themselves with fallibilistic flexibility. That, look, I am ready, I am open to, I'm ready to accept, I'm ready to hear, I'm ready to listen. When people, either the team leader or the members of the team, any member of the team, is not fallibilistically flexible, then it creates a problem with trust. And of course, one of the factors is that more than a few team members are impaired by endogenous loss and qualitative modes of material nature. And therefore, they not only disrespect employees or team members, but also emotionally abuse them. And when this happens, the victim cannot trust you. And it's so easy. It's so easy to emotionally abuse someone who is a team leader, who is a team member. And so when people are impaired without their that's sometimes beyond their control, because these very modes of nature, they are vying for supremacy. We have the mode of passion, we have the mode of ignorance, and we have the mode of goodness. Those who are dominated by the mode of goodness, they are very much alert to listening. They are open to objectivities. But those who are affected by, those who are ruled, those who are under the auspices of the mode of ignorance and passion, sometimes it's so difficult for them to be open to accept other people's ideas. And once you're not open to accept other people's ideas, it makes it so difficult for anyone to trust you, because they will feel that you will betray them. You will betray the system. You will betray the organization. You will betray, you will betray the team. Or you betray the norm. You will not be able to follow the norms of the team. And therefore, it is important for us to think about how these qualitative modes of nature can be mitigated, could be mitigated, because these are endogenous factors. Endogenous means that they are within our bodies, within our system, within our consciousness, they are part of, they affect our emotions. And so these are counterproductive to the very effects of the modes of passion and ignorance. They are counterproductive to the achievement of trust in teams. Another factor that is militating against the achievement of trust in teams is the inability of the individual to be able to control their sensory modalities. Because sometimes you find that someone has been placed in a position, and another person who comes, he knows or she knows better than that person. They have better skills than that person. And when it comes to a project development, we need some brainstorming. And during the brainstorming, if the guy who is just new suggests something based on his skills development, the person who lacks self-control or who is unable or who has low self-control becomes agitated. And once the person who has the better skills notices that you don't feel comfortable by his expertise, by his contribution, they can't trust you. If even they can come, they can voluntarily come forward to be able to take risk. And so we'll find that people who have low self-control, they become a problem to the evolution of trust in our teams or in our organizations. And keep in mind that Fritzen and Hitchie in 1990 developed the general theory of crime, which stipulates that all social anomalies or all crimes and unacceptable behavior in terms of relationship or the workplace, they are due to low self-control. And so what people don't really understand is that majority of the factors militating against the development of trust or the engenderment of trust in the team or in organizations to be able to enhance high performance, we have these enemies right living in us. If you have an enemy living in you, it becomes so difficult to deal with. If you have an enemy around you, they survey all of your surroundings, they know your weak points, where to attack you, and all these things. It's completely opposite of when you have a foreigner coming to attack you. They don't know, they don't know where you are staying, where is the office, and all these things. But the person who's close to you, they know everything about you. So it becomes easy to, weaponize you. And so this a very low self-control is like a ballistic weapon that destroys relationships. And keep in mind that positive relationship is one of the foundations of trust development, according to Harvard Business School research. And so the point here is that we have a number of factors that are militating against our very good intention of developing trust, because amongst our team members, because we know that this is something that is very much profitable to the organization. It's something that helps the organization's expedited growth. So what we do really need in that respect is to adopt some type of methodologies that will help to help us in promoting high self-control. And a number of meditation processes, especially in this very 21st century, a number of meditation processes have been proven to be very effective in promoting high self-control. So let's delve into another factor that is meditation against trust. Now, a number of team members are not able to demonstrate practical caring skills amongst the teams. Now, if you only talk and you don't practicalize how you care for your team member, and especially for those who are serving in a nonprofit organization, they're volunteers. If you're not even paying them and you don't exercise, if even you're paying them, if you're paid workers, you do need to explore ways of demonstrating how well you care for these workers. Why? Because when you treat them in a loving way, in a caring way, they will voluntarily want to go out of their comfort zone to explore ways to facilitate better resources to create more input in the development of the team and in performance. So caring is very important. And sometimes, in the professional arena, in the industries, some managers are lacking this very caring skill because, the employee or the worker is being paid. It doesn't mean that they have to be worked like a jackal or like a slave. They could easily resign and then move on to another project. And so when those who are leading the teams, they are in the mood of caring for their employees, of caring for their team members. If even something happened and the team member has the option of leaving, they will say, oh, but because of my friend, because of my manager, because of my team leader, he cares for me so much, and so I should stay. So it is important for us to understand that caring is of two dimensions. So one is selfless caring, and one is caring with the motivation to lord over, to control the person. And again, what is required in building teams in terms of engendering trust is selfless caring. Now, trust in itself is reciprocal. When the team leader trusts an employee or a team member, or a manager trusts an employee or a team member, naturally, they will strive for reciprocation. Because you trust me, also I will try to trust you. I will try to trust you. But if you don't trust your employees, it is difficult for the employees to just, spontaneously develop some, trust in you, because you don't trust them. And so why would they trust you? And so trust, the reciprocity of trust, is something that we have to understand that helps in creating a better relationship and engenders trust. Now, egocentric bias of team members, or especially of the team manager, is another impediment to trust development in our teams. Egocentric bias means the proclivity or the tendency for excessive reliance on our perspectives, on our ideas, on our opinion. We don't seemingly want to accept another person's opinion. And the whole idea is to satisfy our ego. I know it all. And so this has been proven to be something that is not good enough for engendering trust. And we have a very famous scholar in the classical Vedic tradition by the name Rupa Goswami. He had mentioned that when a manager has high self-control, basically, trust is automatically engendered. And egocentric bias is automatically relegated to the background. And this principle of high self-control is again easily achieved through some meditative processes. And one of the meditative processes that I have a champion in research projects in terms of using that meditation process as a prevention for fraud is sonic therapeutic intervention. Sonic therapeutic intervention simply means, the self-administration of a set of repetitions of classical names, transcendental names, and one of those prominent ones is what the Vedic scholars call the Maha Mantra. And so when I conducted my research recently, that very research has been accepted by the World Academy of Science, Engineering, and Technology for a presentation at the London Conference on prevention of financial crime in June. And so one of the areas that I explored is that people who do meditation, especially the Maha Mantra, they attain a platform or a level of resistance to temptations. And these days, it's so difficult for people to resist temptations. And so when people are embarking on some meditative processes, that helps them in promoting their self-control. And the exploitative mindset is another factor that militates against trust. If someone in your team finds that you are exploitative, you want to exploit them, they will not even come close to you. And therefore, it is important for us to understand that we should put the team members' problems first. We should deal with the problems first. What are the team members going to gain from this very initiative? That's what we need to consider. And when we come up with something very authentic, something that they can jump into, that will facilitate the development of trust in a team manager. There are a number of other circumstances that militate against trust. What basically we intend to do here is that, having understood that there are some challenges to the development of trust, but then how do we develop trust? So then I use the Rayner's conceptual framework. That is the three dimension of trust. Rayner, there are two doctors, two PhD holders, who have been involved in research in terms of trust and betrayal at the workplace. And so the Rayner three dimension of trust basically provides a solution to provides strategies on how to be able to develop trust. And you can measure it quantitatively. There's a scale, the Likert scale that you use in measuring it. It's based on self-reporting. And so those three dimensions are trust of capability. I'm talking about capacity for trust for capability, trust of capability, trust of character, trust of communication. Now, these three dimensions, if we just focus on these three dimensions based on Rayner's approach or Rayner's model, we, especially for trust of capability or capability trust, we have to practice how to recognize people's capabilities, people's abilities, the members of our team, their abilities and capabilities. We have to be able to recognize that. And sometimes The reason why we have to do this is that people feel good, they feel appreciated when the manager recognizes what they have done, or recognizes their skills, recognizes their talents. And that also demonstrates that the manager is a good talent man, is good in talent management. Although if you're not good in talent management, how are you going to be able to identify the different skills of the different team members and acknowledge their efforts in helping to build the team? Allow people to make decisions. Don't try to make all the decisions yourself. In fact, when you're doing this in your team, you see that people, your team members will generally just, they fall in love with you. They will like you because people don't want to be ruled. And so you give them a chance. You give them a chance to make some contribution. And sometimes the decision should be collective, should be shared decision making. And shared decision making enhances shared leadership. And that's what people want in the 21st century. They don't want you to come and impose their ideas on them. And so, involve others and seek their input when the need arises. Help people to learn new skills, and their old skills help them to be able to grow in their old skills. In other words, education and training. A trust of character. Manage expectation. This is a world of crisis. This is a world where change is the dominant factor. We have all seen, and we are still experiencing, COVID-19. COVID-19 took the life of over 417,000 people in America. So if you have to be an appreciative thinker, appreciative inquirer, and appreciative thinker, be on the move, expect negative change. If positive change happens, then you're grateful. But because we are living in a world where the negative changes are the predominating factors, if we prepare our minds in that way, when something really heavy happens, we don't get agitated. And that state of mind enhances trust of your workers. Establish boundaries. Delegate appropriately. We're talking about trust of character. Encourage mutually serving intentions. Keep agreements. When you agree on one thing, don't just, especially when you agree on something in a meeting or during a brainstorming, you agree on something, make sure that you execute it. That is a sign of respect for your colleagues, and that engenders trust. Be consistent. Consistency is one of the foundations of trust building in any organization. So, the last dimension is trust in communication, or trust of communication. Information sharing is so imperative in the digital age. And so if you want your team members to trust you, be very alert at information sharing. Encourage information sharing. Demonstrate that in your own life. Another factor is tell the truth. If you tell the truth, and if even things don't work out in the way that's expected, your team members will trust you. Admit your mistakes. To err, they say, is human. So we make mistakes, and when we do make mistakes, we should admit our mistakes before our team members or to our team members. Speak with good purpose. And so these are the characters, these are the behaviors that are expected in the Rainer model of trust building. Keep in mind that consistency, good judgment, and positive relationships are primary foundations for building trust in teams. And these very behaviors in the Rainer's three-dimension model of trust building, this could be very helpful even for the household. Anywhere, amongst your friends. So trust is something that is needed everywhere. And especially today, we're talking about trust at the workplace. And this Rainer's a model of trust, three-dimension approach to trust building is a very perfect a way of self-reporting quantitatively that helps to build trust in our organizations for sustainable higher performance. Maybe there are some comments or some questions. Please feel free to ask the questions.
Dr. Das, thank you so much for that very enlightening and wonderful presentation. We currently don't have any questions in the chat. I'd like to find out if any of our viewers have any live questions that they'd like to ask Dr. Das directly. You're welcome to either raise your hand or unmute yourself, or even if you have a comment that you'd like to share. Okay, seems like we don't, but we do have one on Facebook from Vrindavan, and she says that she's very grateful for this webinar as it's so relevant in today's time. So we have a question as well from Prof. G. Naidu, which says, with online mode of working, it is difficult to engender trust. And that's so true because there's no real access.
Yeah.
Just
I resonate with that. The remote work, the remote modern digital, the pandemic enabled remote work, it makes it even more difficult for building trust in teams. Yes, so I agree with that. But again, when we apply Rainer's model, it makes it easier for us to spotlight who to trust and how to go about it, because this is a model that has been tested and is being applied in different industries. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Das. We have a further comment from Prof. Naidu, and she says, thank you very much for a great presentation.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Prof. Thank you for coming.
We have another question coming through. It says, how do you relate with co-workers with preconceived dislike who are naturally hateful?
Okay. That is bias. So some people are naturally, they have cultural bias. some people have cultural bias, and so they also have a general tendency to dislike people who are not from, you know, their cultures, or even people who are from their own cultural background. They just have a natural tendency to make some trouble. Yeah. So how do you deal with that? Um, what you do from practical from practical experience from practical experience is that if someone is troublesome, you don't have to worry. You still don't make an enemy with that person. You get to play a game in such a way that you don't make him feel that, or you don't make her feel that they are unwanted. You try to be open, try to be very objective. And especially when we love someone, not based on their repulsive, not based on their repulsive character. I mean, we don't reject someone because of their repulsive character. We don't reject someone because of their repulsive character. I remember somebody one time. I moved into one environment, and one of my friends, he saw one guy who came to me, and we were there discussing. So this other guy, he came, and then he knew that guy much more than anyone else. And so I was new in that environment. So he came to educate me for like 2 hours. He was giving me a lecture about that guy. How I should not associate with him. He's like this, is very disgusting. He's not respectful. He's like, he's a bad guy, so to say. So I adjusted myself and we became friends. See, the problem is that a problem why we find it difficult to deal with people who are even very difficult to deal with. That is a problem of maladjustment. Maladjustment means that we are not able to align with people to have a mind shift, to have a critical shift of a mindset, so as to be able to make friends with people. We're looking at how bad they are. We're looking at their bad side. We're looking at their bad side. And so it's so easy for us to be distrusted with anyone who is just bad. But no matter how bad a person may be, they may have some good, at least one good quality. So what we do is that we pick up on that person based on that good quality. And with that good quality, we relate with the person. We may not necessarily get too close to the person. At the same time, don't make enemies with the person, because everybody says, oh, this person is very bad, she's very bad. And one way to do that is to adjust ourselves. I remember when I was in college, so there was a professor who was teaching us. She was just a lady, a married lady. She was teaching us psychology of adjustment. And so she was teaching us how to deal with different people in different situations, different environments, different conditions. And one of the examples she gave was that, hey guys, she said, hey guys, see, I'm a professor, I'm your boss in this class. Okay. But you know what? When I leave this class, at the end of the day, I'm going to the park. I change my hat. I change the hat of a professor. I put on the hat of a housewife and a mother. she says, if she wears the professor hat and goes to board her car and drive home, she will get into trouble because at home, she is supposed to be subservient to her husband, subservient to her children. The children can come and jump on her and, do her anything. She won't react. She will not be reactive. So, in one sense, for a professor, a child just jumps on her head and hits her. I mean, this is rascal though. But because that is done out of love, she smiles at the child. So we have to be adjustive. The psychology of adjustment helps us to be able to make mind shifts. And we are able to deal with situations. So the issue is that the whole world, majority of people in the whole world want everyone else to adjust themselves to suit their purpose. We don't want to adjust ourselves to suit the other person's purpose. So I'll give you an example. Say, I may be considered a bad guy. Why? Because I say, whatever you tell me, I'll be laughing. So then if it's something very serious, I'll be laughing. So you may say, well, what is this? This is very serious. But the things that we are not able to change, we let go. But we should not, because someone has one bad attitude, and say, well, I will not associate with him, I will not associate with her. They hate, she hates me, or he hates me, or whatever. But we should be adjusted to accommodate that person and see how we can tap their good personality. And when we are able to live that type of life, relate with people based on adjusting ourselves, it could make a big difference. But at the same time, when we know this person, we cannot change this person, we should not get too close so that, we don't get hurt by their behavior that we already know, because we already become biased because other people have told us, like the guy was mentioning that, he gave me a whole 2 hours lecture not to allow that guy to come to me. But I allowed him anyway. But I know the guy, and the guy was really bad. It was really tough, So I remember one time, so that very guy, he drove me to the airport. I was going to a conference. He drove me to the airport. And then because I was going to a conference, I was going to an academic conference. And then this my friend who is so bad that I was advised against, relating with him or allowing him to come close to me. He asked me one question as we were going, based on the way I dressed, because I dressed on the suit and the tie and all those things. And so he asked me, he told me something that, I just took it like a joke, So he was surprised. He was surprised the way I took it. If I did not take it like a joke, perhaps he would have won the game by his ill intention to hurt me. So when people are naughty, we should adjust ourselves to take some of their actions like a play, or some of the things they say like a joke, and then we should respond in a loving way. And that helps to solve a lot of things, because some people, it's just their character. You cannot change them. So there's nothing you can do. And so the important thing is to be able to do some type of self-adjustment, and don't just give in. Don't drive yourself into the comfort zone. Maintain some type of, even here it is mentioned in Rayner's 3 dimensions of trust building. In the One of them, one of the subsections, is mentioned about, we should create boundaries. We should create boundaries. You cannot be comfortable with everybody on this planet. Even at work, you cannot be comfortable with everybody. But relate with everybody. At the same time, create some boundary. The watchword is create some boundary. Is that okay, Veronica?
Yes, Dr. Das. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We have two more comments.
Okay.
Both from Prof. Naidu. And she says, in multicultural teams, individuals tend to not trust persons outside their cultural identity. And then a follow-up comment that says, in general, trust is very difficult to generate in teams. There are a lot of barriers such as racism, sexism, etc.
Sure, I agree with you. Body identification is one of the major, body consciousness is one of the major barriers to trust engenderment. Yes, so Prof, yes, I agree with you. And again, we have to be adjustive and embrace that type of, see how we can break through that barrier. Because if the barrier is sexism, for instance, or cultural issues, and that becomes like a difficult thing to deal with, we have to be adjustive and then see how we make some we change our mindsets. If we understand that everybody just like that, then we don't take it we don't. If we understand, if most of the people in our team, they are acting on that basis, then we don't take it to be personal. We know that it's a cultural thing. It is something that people, they are devoid of higher understanding. They don't have transcendental knowledge, and they think the body. They think someone is thinking, I'm a man, and so a woman should never instruct me. Someone is thinking. I remember. Let me tell you about this. I like what Prof raised here. I remember I was in California one time, and so I was hosted by an elderly family, and we were going to some place for the program, and then the husband was the one driving, and so the wife had the directives or the directions to the place, and so she was telling him directions to the house, and she was telling him, go here, go there, you use this route. And the man was completely adamant, completely adamant. So the wife perceived that he is adamant, or he's trying to be emotionally abusive because she's a woman. So she said, all right, you know that we don't get into the program because of the guest. Could you call the host, the home where we are going, so that they'll give you directions? So the husband, these are elderly people, okay? People have grandchildren, their children have grown up and they are married with their own family. And so at that age, they should be very much understanding with each other. But no. So when the wife suggested, all right, you call the host so that he sends you some directions. So far, you don't want to take my own directions. And so the guy, he called the husband, he called the host. And then the guys, texted him the same directions that the wife was having and was giving to him. So when we got to the place, the husband got down, highlighted from the car, and he went to ring the bell of the premises. And so when he went in to ring the bell, I came up, I highlighted from the car. The wife also came out from the car. And so she was fuming with anger. She was very upset. So she made a comment. So she said, the husband was not there. So she said, so in this world, if you're a woman, whatever you say is nonsense. I said, Madam, what your husband did is completely nonsense. It's completely wrong. I said, but because I don't know your family, I'm just a new person to you. I didn't want to interfere. But just for your information, I was completely disgusted with what he did to you. And immediately his countenance, immediately her countenance changed. She began to smile. In other words, she's thinking, not all men are like this. Some people are respectful. So yeah, Prof, I do understand. I've had experience of some of those things, and it's just unfortunate. Yeah. Any other comments? Otherwise, we have to wrap it up.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Das. That's all from our viewers today. So thank you everyone for joining, and thank you, Dr. Das, for that wonderful presentation. For those who would like to watch the recordings again, it is available on Facebook under Dr. Vasudev Das. Otherwise, you are welcome to send me your email address on the chat, and we can keep in touch. But from our side, we'd like to thank you for your time. And I know that it's late there in India, so we'd like to wish you a good night. And for those, good day. If you're tuning in from America, and yeah, thank you very much. We have thank yous in the chat as well. So we will keep in touch, and you can watch the Facebook page, Dr. Vasudev Das, for any updates or the latest videos and information that Dr. Vasudev Das will be sharing. But thank you again, everyone, and we will connect again soon.
Thank you very much, everyone, and good night on my side.